In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating the different options you have when using your brushes. So what I've done is I've just created a basic layer here, and I'm on the brushes tab in the shelf, and I've got the basic soft. And what I can do right now is I could just paint on this model as I see fit. So we're going to look at some of the options that we have here. So on the properties, you have the brush options. So you have the size, so we can increase and decrease the size. We can also increase and decrease the flow as well, and the stroke opacity. So the more we paint over it, the lighter or darker it gets, depending on the color, obviously. And we can also put an angle to this as well. But there is a easier way to do this rather than going into the properties tab. So I'm just going to undo all this, go back to my soft, oops, layer there. So with my brush selected, if I hold down Control and the left mouse button, you can see that I can, and if I move left and right, I can increase and decrease the flow of the brush. If I hold on Control and the left mouse button, if I move up and down, it changes the angle. Although I'll get a different texture just so you can kind of see that. This one here. So if I move up and down, you can see that it rotates around as well. Let me just that. Now if I hold down the Control and right mouse button, if I move my mouse left and right, I can increase and decrease the size of this brush. And if I move it up and down, again, it will do the same as well. See, then I can just paint on as I see fit as well. Make sure I'm in the outer casing. Yep. So if I go back to my soft brush for a second, what I can do as well is that I can also add some alpha shapes as well. So we can see here that we have various different alpha maps. So if I go to this barcode, for instance, I could just increase this. So this would be like a nice sort of decal that I could add into this particular option here. If I go to my alphas, and if I just put this triangle here as well, what I can do is I can have it follow a path. So right now I can just, if I just click and drag, you'll see that, okay, it is quite uniform, it's like quite close together. I might just quickly decrease size that for a second. What I can do is I can increase the spacing. So as I'm painting, it does leave a little bit of space. But as you can see right now, if I'm going in a circle, these triangles or these arrows are pretty much going in the exact same way. It's not really following my brush. So what I can do is I can turn on follow path, and you see now as I move around, so too does the stencil. By holding down shift, I can pretty much go in a straight line. So I'm just gonna slightly angle my brush a little bit. So maybe I want this to go in a direct straight line from one end to the other. So if I click there, so from here to there, I can click and it will follow directly like so. Underneath as well, you can see that we have different ways in which this will align with your model. So as we're painting along, you'll see that there's pretty much no seams whatsoever. That's because we're on tangent warp. If we were on tangent planar, then those seams could begin to come through. So playing around with these, it will have different effects to how you paint. So if I go to camera, it paints based on the camera. Like so. If I go to tangent warp, you'll see that it does wrap around quite nicely. Or tangent planar might not do the sort of same sort of thing as well. You see it kind of like fades off a little bit. You can also paint in 2D as well. So if you're not comfortable painting in 3D, if you go to this top right hand corner here, you could go to split, so you can have like 3D there and 2D there. So you can actually paint directly onto the UVs themselves, and you can see how it paints along. So if I paint here, you can see how it's added there, how it goes around the object. or you could just go straight 2D only, so you can just work on the actual UV map itself. You can add your own stencils as well, so if you do have a black and white image, you can add them in to add some great effects to it as well. So if I go to File, Import Resources, you can add a number of resources that you need. So if I go to Add Resources, Images, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of things here. So these are alpha maps. So basically, again, just like with masks, black is transparent and white is visible. I'm going to add these camos in there as well, just for an example. So when you're importing in textures, you can see here that we can define what they are. So we can say, okay, this camo here is a texture. Same with the other camo one as well. These ones here we know are black and white images, and these are going to be alphas. So they will go under the alpha sections in the shelf. And we can put like a suffix or a prefix in here as well. So when we're searching for them, it will pop up. So I'm going to just type in, say, camo here. I mean, if you search it anyway, because it is already called camo, it just helps as well. And you can import them into, say, just the current session to the actual project itself, or they will be in the shelf itself. So I'm going to put it in for the actual project import. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this logo here, just the one. I'm going to go back to my default brush really quick and add an alpha. So or I'll just add it in from over here if I can find it. Type in logo, I should be able to find it. There we are. And then this side I'm going to add this little texture in, like so. And again, I can just add some nice little details here as well. I can also use normal maps too for these brushes. So on here, if I go to my material, just turn all of these off, and I could add a cross to this. Just make sure that I'm on the right one. So dial. If I just click in here, I can add in that null map as well, similar to how I used the stencil. So make sure in normal there, you can add in sort of any sort of normal effect that you want. So you can have these sort of normal stencils and add in whatever you see fit using the brushes. So you can add in some nice details using the normal maps as well. So that's how you use the brushes, and also demonstrating how to quickly import in some textures as well.